Welcome to Who Put This On, Season 4, Episode 12, where we watch Night Watch, Season 2, Episode 1. I'm Chris Lorenz.
Hey, this is James.
It's me, your friends, your pal, Forbes 30 under 30 media luminary, advisor to the Tsar, Max Sputin.
You gotta get to the point, Max. Max Sputin is here.
I definitely zoned out. I have no idea.
I
don't
one
know
could
what you're
possibly
going for.
pay
I don't know
attention
what
to
you're going
that.
for.
Yep, sorry. This week we watched Night Watch on television.
It's on A&E Network, mister. And let's see. I'll give you. Why does my phone keep doing this? Stop it.
It's zoned out.
No,
Chris's
it keeps like popping up this top 10 related bullshit. Anyway, so the show description, A&E Network's critically acclaimed original nonfiction crime series Night Watch from executive producer Dick Wolf and 44 Productions returns for new episodes set in Tampa, Florida. The hour-long series follows elite teams of emergency responders as they risk their lives to work the critical and daunting overnight shift in Tampa, the sun-baked city by the bay, where as many as 850 emergency calls come in every night. So
Although that description,
we definitely that's the show for description for the new season. We watched an old season which was set in New Orleans, but essentially the same thing. It's
same show. Zoom tight, Max. Same show in New Orleans during Mardi Gras.
yeah.
Non-stop action.
So it's cops, but also includes
EMT.
EMT, cops, and firemen. Fire
Firefighters.
police? Fire police.
Fire police. Wait, hold up.
Fire police is a separate thing. You're right.
Fire buddies.
Firemen seem sexist, okay?
Right, that's why they're called firefighters. They fight the fires.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
There you have it.
I guess we should start off the bat by I'm not sure this reality show.
What do you mean?
It's a documentary.
Okay.
Chris, we always have this conversation.
I
and
know.
It never goes
and
anywhere.
every time I need to bring it up.
But the problem
That's
is
just-
it's not a reality competition show. But then you always make the argument that reality TV, quote, doesn't have to be a competition. But every time it's not some sort of competition, I feel like you raise this
That's
question.
not true. My definition is it's a show set up by the producers. So like any like Jersey Shore
situation.
Family Vacation is set up by the producers. The people picked on the shows are set up by producers. The only thing really like obviously the EMTs sign up and the producers pick who's on the show, but that I mean they
You're right.
kind of like pick what we see
And it's more
because
like
it's a
ride-along.
documentary.
Right.
But like, it's just you following people doing their real jobs in their real life, which would be more of a documentary than a reality show. Some people yelled at me for that. So like, whatever. We watched it. We're talking about it. Doesn't
go.
really matter. I just felt like I needed to bring it up.
Got to get that off your chest.
Okay.
So yeah, the show's essentially Cops.
Yep.
I think it's a little more exciting than Cops because it's like it's not always you following bad people. There's like it's like
It's not all criminals.
EMTs are sometimes. Oh, I thought he meant the bad people were the cops.
Oh, boy.
no, it's not always
That's gonna. I don't know about that comment.
it's like it's usually like sometimes like an I don't know what the difference is.
No. So I think the general gist with cops, right, is you're following these cops along in documentary styles, see what's happening. But majority of like the cases that happen are they're pursuing suspects or some sort of criminals. They're following up on a robbery, some sort of violent act. 9 times out of 10.
Yep.
And I feel like at least in the episode we watched here, it was a little more focused on the EMT, a little bit of the firefighting, and it wasn't always in the pursuit of a criminal or a violent activity.
Yeah.
And so that
And-
was the real difference.
And also, like, some of the crimes that they're responding to, sometimes they're very serious. Then sometimes they're the most, like, funny, not serious at all, like Reno 9/11 stuff. Sorry, I just called it Reno 9/11 instead of not Reno 911.
Yeah,
That's
you're
fucked up.
not allowed to say 9/11 like that.
So do we want-
I have the list of what happens in this episode. So I'll go over it. We can say our highlights of what's going on. So the show starts on the Friday before Fat Tuesday or Mardi Gras. The first guy Maybe we should. I think we should just go right in the minutia. Let's just go one by one.
Do it.
I was kind of thinking about that. Like the main thing of the show is the cases and the way that the show. So essentially, at a high level, right? The show is about 4 or 5 different cases, maybe 6, and they're gonna
man.
show it. There's something that's gonna happen. Okay, Chris is shaking his head. There's more. We got it wrong. But the point being, there's a case for some amount of time. They show it, and then it's either the police responding to something, the EMTs responding to something, treating the patient. And then getting them to the hospital, or the firefighter, alarm goes off in the firehouse, and they're responding to something. That's basically the show,
Yeah.
and you get a bunch of these like quick hits on a bunch of stuff.
Yep.
And that's the show,
Yep.
Yeah.
more or less, right?
You miss one thing, which is after they deliver them to the hospital, you don't really see the patient getting delivered, but you do see sort of a debrief afterwards.
yeah. The debrief. There's in between these.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of the debrief from the people that were responding. They're kind of chit chatting about what was
It's like,
going
boy,
on.
that
their
guy sure
thoughts.
was dead, huh? Oh
Exactly.
yeah, Jim.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So we're gonna go through some morbid topics here.
Yep.
So just as a
This show is
forewarning,
real.
if
This
you
is-
don't want, because we're gonna talk a little bit about at least some of them. So like you're warned.
I would also say, Warren B. Watch the show. You see a lot of graphic things, and they
Some
don't
stuff
hide a lot.
I have never seen some stuff like this on television before.
I definitely was kind of on my phone because I didn't want to see a lot.
So like, if you're queasy or that's not your jam, I would say do not watch the show.
Good call, yes.
for sure.
Yeah. So the first person, speaking of morbid, is this guy that they're keeping alive with this giant hammer machine. And I'm not really sure. I forget how he got there, but like it's a pretty fancy machine. These guys are like, I don't know. They're like shocking him. They're trying to give him drugs. Like,
Yeah. So the case is just a man unconscious. Basically, there's a man walking along the shoreline, collapses. People see this, witnesses, and they call the police or they call 911.
Yep.
EMTs roll up, and this dude has no pulse. And so they say it's like a no code. There's also a lot of like
Yeah.
jargon that gets tossed around, which is sort of
Yeah.
interesting. But essentially, he has no pulse, and so they bring out this thing called the Lucas machine, which I've never even heard of this or seen it. I mean, I'm definitely not an expert by any stretch of the means in any of this, but like this machine looked like something out of the future,
it definitely seemed like something you'd see in a movie.
right? And it's basically like a circular thing that goes
It's a
over the
plunger.
person's chest with kind of like a plunger thing that is basically an automated CPR machine, I think,
Yeah.
of some nature.
Chest compression.
Chest
machine.
compression,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's just like pumping his heart for him. I'm guessing it's something probably better, but like less portable maybe in the hospital. Like you'd think you would have seen this in like something else. It's weird.
Yeah,
It's
Like-
fascinating for sure.
Yeah.
that was definitely very interesting early on. And so they're sort of doing the interviews and stuff to talk with the EMTs, and they're just raving about this thing and how great it is, and the fact that it's so consistent and it doesn't get tired as a human delivering the same kind of mechanism.
Yeah.
So that was, I don't know, it was just cool to see. It was just neat.
I mean,
it sucked for this person in the situation.
Yeah.
But the tech was kind of cool.
Yeah. Unfortunately, this guy was his face was blurred out, and at the end of the show, they confirmed that this guy did not make it. So
Yeah, which
That's
actually,
just
that's
like-
an element of the show that I was glad that they closed things out, because like while you're watching it, they don't close that scene out. Like they basically, once the EMTs deliver the person to the hospital, they roll out of there and they just have no idea what's going
yeah.
on.
So like just like an EMT, when you drop somebody off at the hospital, you have no idea how well these things are going to go through. Like
Right, you're just driving around again.
You don't
Respond to
no
the next
idea if this guy's broken femur is going to be okay. You don't know if like this guy with the gunshot wound is going to be okay. You have no idea, really. Even though I feel like at some point there should be a feedback loop, but I don't know. It didn't seem like they get any feedback loop. Maybe they get like some sort of overall status, but never get to see those people again.
Yeah.
It's probably most likely.
Well, I mean, that's probably true to life. You just
no.
deliver-
It's definitely true to life, but like,
Yeah.
I,
It's a bit of a reality one, but something that I do like is, at least in this episode, that everything is sort of I wouldn't say as far as a 24 style, but in that spirit of the timestamps that sort of give you a sense. And so you teed it up, but it was, Friday before Fat Tuesday. And I just love how like that's the
6
level.
p.m. Yeah.
yeah.
So that was kind of cool.
It was interesting because we go through, I didn't write down what days things were, but like they have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then Tuesday ends it out. I find it interesting that they only have like a case or two a night. So like,
I mean, I'm sure they have more. Just they choose the spiciest ones.
yeah, it just seems like this Mardi Gras thing could have been a couple episodes. That's all.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a really morbid way to start this episode out. And like the EMTs are definitely pretty light. They're not like devastated by this like at all. Like
They're
we're
definitely
more
very
devastated.
professional about the whole. They're very like focused and just working on
Yep.
the problem. And
We're definitely
That's it.
more devastated, I think, than they were.
oh, I was definitely cringing a bit while watching this thing. And the next case doesn't
Yeah.
get a whole lot better.
Yeah. So the next case was a guy that was shot in the head,
Right.
through the temple, through like his ocular cavity, nerve, something.
Yeah, basically above the right eye was the entrance, and then
above the
across,
left eye.
like through the inside of the forehead underneath, an exit wound through the left above the eye. And so on the radio, they call this thing as a male shot in face, and the EMTs like look at each other like, what?
Yeah,
Okay.
they're like
And
none of
this-
those.
yeah.
None of those cases ever come out well. This might be the best case of that, almost.
Yeah.
Well, so that's what's wild, right? So these EMTs are discussing like, oh, this is going to be bad, right? They're expecting to just roll in. This dude's dead. You know, gunshot wound to the head, not looking good.
They show up, guys awake,
Yeah.
guys talking.
Answering questions, knows his name, knows like what day it is, all this stuff.
Yeah.
They load him up. Oh, that was wild. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess he was also shot in the foot.
Yeah.
But they were not as concerned about that for clear reasons.
they were dealing with the head thing for a while. Like, oh shit, he was shot in the foot too. Let's deal with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently it was he was driving in a vehicle and the vehicle was shot at, and that's what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was also nuts. Like at some point they mentioned like, oh, this wasn't a 22. This was like a 45, or like this is like a really like serious handgun or gun or whatever. And I was like, man, I never want to know I never want to get to the level of knowledge to know that.
Oh yeah, this was again in that sort of chit chatty debrief after.
Yeah.
Which this one kind of rubbed me a little the wrong way. I'm like, here, this dude got shot in the head. Like it is bad. And these guys are just like, whoo, I don't know, a 22, it would have just bounced right off the skull or something. Some kind of
They were definitely
snarky
making
comment.
light of the fact of the matter, but like he was gonna be alive. Like I think that
Yeah.
from their perspective, like he's alive. Like we did our job. Like
I mean, they definitely helped
and
save that guy,
It's
for
not
sure.
like I feel like you'd probably be more depressed about like the last guy that like didn't make it, but like they didn't show up on the scene. Like I feel like you'd feel worse if you showed up and they were alive and then they didn't make it all the way to the hospital. Like you tried and it
Sure.
just didn't
Oh,
work
yeah.
out. Whereas this guy's just like, oh, he's gonna be alive. Like he's not gonna,
Yeah, and then so we should jump to the end on that one. Like it turns out he did survive. Right?
Wild.
He survives. I mean, he does lose his eyesight,
Which
is definitely
sucks.
sad. But like all things granted, it's amazing that guy's alive.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
And graduated high school, I believe, or something.
Yeah, that was nuts. Like they never mentioned his age at all until like the end thing where they like showed a couple people on how what happened, and it was like he graduated high school even though he lost his eyesight. I'm like, he was in high school.
I had no
Wild.
idea he was in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No
that was-
idea.
There was also like for people who are squeamish, they show a needle going into the guy's arm during this, and I'm just like, don't do that.
Dude,
that's what freaked you out?
Whatever
No, it
about the
didn't
needle.
freak-
What about the fucking head wounds?
I'm just needles
Yes,
don't
the
really.
facts.
fucking bone jutting out of his head from when a bullet came
had
out of
a
it.
I'm
bullet
just saying
hole
that
in
if you're
his head,
squeamish, this is not a show to be watching.
Oh, I agree with that, but I can't believe that they panned away from the headshot wound to them giving him an IV in the arm, and that's what got you freaked
They
out.
don't freak. It doesn't. Needles don't freak me out, but I just don't like to see the insertion.
Okay, so the whole challenge with the needle mobile, the IVs, was not your jam.
No, it's not my
Okay.
jam.
But man, I can't.
Like I can easily just kind of
Such a
gloss
Cara Maria.
over. Yeah,
Yep.
I can get a needle any day. I just don't like to see it.
Okay, so he's halfway to Kara.
Like I'm not like, oh, I got to get a shot. I'm not running away from that situation. I'm just like, okay, just do it.
Yeah.
But I don't need to see it being inserted into other people. I
Fair.
don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, I was just totally distracted by again the entrance and exit headshot wound. Like,
Yeah,
whoa.
it was nuts. All right, let's move past
move it.
that. Let's see.
The
There was
EMTs hang out with some police bros and
Yeah.
make jokes about getting shot.
I did write that down. And I just like, what are we gonna say about that?
That's it.
All right. The next case was the marching band. Some lady in the band passed out. We found out at the end was due to dehydration, like we all predicted that it
Yep.
was dehydration.
Yep, she was in the marching band.
She was
Yep.
pissed that she missed the end of the parade route, and she was concerned that she wasn't going to make the Mardi Gras one because I think this was on Saturday or Friday night. So she did.
She did.
It's a happy one, you know. Of all things considered,
Yeah.
this is the second pleasant one of
Yeah,
the
things
night.
worked out. It was like, okay, you know.
Do you think
No
that
biggie.
she was drinking?
No, I think that, you know, it's February, NOLA, so it's definitely not like the hottest it's going to be, but, you know, you're in a marching band.
mean
yeah.
it's
You're
the-
in high school. Maybe she forgot to eat dinner or
You
lunch
might
or something.
have a giant sousaphone or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
You mean it'll be the coldest month in NOLA? Like,
Yeah, I mean, given the options. I mean, like, my first thought was marching band in NOLA. That's going to be terrible because it's going to be so hot, right, and swampy and like humid. But February should be better than other times.
February's
so I don't
probably
know.
one of the best months.
Probably
February's
one of the better
probably
ones.
one of the better months.
fair.
Okay, yeah, that there isn't a whole lot to say about that. Then the next person was some guy that got stabbed in the neck
Because it was
Oh,
Valentine's
and
Day.
the nose.
Fuck.
Yeah,
he was fine.
It was Valentine's Day and Saturday before Mardi Gras.
You got it. We got to tee up the story about
Yeah,
this
go.
guy,
You
though.
go. You do it, James.
I mean, I think the most interesting thing was like, so this guy gets in a fight, but the reason he gets in a fight is so the EMTs are asking him like, "Hey man, like what happened?" You know, clearly he has like some sort of gash or a stab wound to his neck under one of his ears. He's got a big cut in his nose. He's bleeding everywhere, all over. He's got no shirt on. Dude's looking like a mess. And so like, what happened? He's like, "Yeah, I got in this fight." And like, well, what happened? And like, so I was, I got in a verbal altercation with a coworker, and then she called the boyfriend. The boyfriend showed up, and we got into it. And he's like, we was hitting each other, fist fighting or whatever. And then he's like, next thing you know, his friends were pulling him off, or somebody was pulling him off. And then he started realizing he was bleeding. They're like, yo, dude, you're bleeding. And then he realized the dude he was fighting had a razor blade in between his fingers. So he was just hitting him with a razor blade.
yeah, this was not great.
Ooh, no.
Like he was in the side of his neck. Was like, ooh, I don't know. Like, that's pretty close to like,
It's a deep cut.
yeah. Well, the nose is a deeper cut. But
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it's too close to like some sort of jugular that I'd be really comfortable with.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The EMTs seem like all chill about it, though. I mean,
Yeah.
they probably know it's.
Well,
not
I mean,
the
at that
jugular.
point,
Yeah.
you didn't get stabbed in the jugular, so like you didn't hit a vein.
Yeah.
You're fine. You're gonna get.
They're like, you're
some
going to get a bunch of stitches.
You're gonna have a scar, like that. Like of all things that they see, like what else what have we seen already? Somebody got shot. Like this is like more minor.
We had the first person
Yeah.
who was a no pulse, then shot through the face, and
Yeah.
then okay.
I was
girl
really
passes out,
worried the
and
rest
then,
of the show was going to be all that intense.
Yeah, this was kind of a like. It sounds weird to say, but a good breather, I think, in between some of the first
I
two
mean,
craziness.
the marching band person was definitely a good, nice breather. This
Yeah,
one was like
this came back a little bit.
bit. Came back a little bit. The next one though.
There's also like one light one again, but I can't remember if that's
Yeah,
next.
that's not next.
Okay,
Not yet.
so next.
Next is this car crash.
Oh shit!
This SUV was T-boned by this taxi, and this person must have had their legs crossed, and she broke her tibia, and she was just in the most amount of pain of anyone in this show.
Well, she was sort of trapped in the car too. So the other people in the car were all fine. Like the kid I think it was like two adults and a kid. The other adult was fine. The kid had like a bump or something, but like
You
generally
never
was
really
fine.
saw,
Didn't
'cause,
matter.
yeah.
Well, like they were like it's fine, not worried. But this lady is stuck in the backseat of this car, and they show it, and it's crunched. Like it is crunchy mode, and she is hollering.
Oh yeah,
She is, and the EMT is like, "All right, I'm gonna be honest. This is gonna suck.
Yeah.
You can feel free to yell as much as you need right now. We're gonna get you out of here, but it's gonna suck." And they do. They pull her out of that, and like Luckily, like nothing else got further injured, and it was just like broken tibia.
I mean, it's a broken
Ooh.
tibia. So,
Which-
like, if you're not aware, that is the big bone in your leg, you know, and
In the
That's
that
not the
area,
only big bone
right?
in my leg.
I hope it's not that
Penalty
big
box.
right now.
we got to bring back Max Mute.
Yeah. So this is one of the most painful bones in the body to break. And you're in this car accident. You got to be maneuvered out of this car with your leg that's broken. And she's just shaking. She's shaking because
Oh,
it
yeah.
hurts so much.
Oh, yeah.
She's like,
She's in shock.
she is not having any of this. They give her some morphine, and this dude's like joking with her, and it's just like, oh man, his tone versus the seriousness of this incident, and all of these incidents are kind of like off. And I guess you just got to be that kind of person.
Yeah.
Like it's definitely
It
difficult.
definitely opens your eyes, or at least is a reminder of the kind of shit that like EMT have to see and deal with on the regular. Like,
I wonder if it's just
Oof.
like not a kind of person. Like I feel like if I did this enough, like if it was this out a year, I'd probably make the same jokes. But like there'd be like a good bit of time where I would be like kind of devastated.
I have some friends who like EMT'd during high school and college, and yeah, they just said you kind of get desensitized to it,
you start to see enough garbage and like crazy stuff.
or like sort of the keeping it light is how you cope.
Yeah, you kind of have to.
Yeah.
yeah.
So the next one was an armed robbery. This is
Oh
our
my
first
God.
non-EMT kind of
Yeah,
incident.
first police one.
So like three guys went in and robbed a bar and all the people in the bar, and they just kind of were speeding away in this car. Some cops found them. The cops we were following were like nearby. They went and like they joined the pursuit.
Oh yeah, they were in the
And
chase.
They were in the chase. And at some point, the driver just gets out and runs, leaving the other 2 or 3 people in the car. So
The car's just ghost riding.
yeah. So the people we watch, they get all the people in the car in the ground and like whatever. They
arrest them.
subdue the like individuals, and somebody else gets the driver. The driver comes back and he's just wearing the baggiest shorts. Like they're not even shorts anymore. They were definitely just really baggy pants.
Yeah.
At this point, you could see zero leg, and he's a big fella. So like, but the other guys are pretty normal.
Yeah.
And you know they subdued these armed robbers. They also had a gun. I don't know,
Yeah, illegal
they-
gun.
but
on
they
the
didn't
floorboard.
use it. So that was good.
That is
It didn't
good.
seem like they fired the gun.
No.
No, it was
So
just on the
that's-
floor.
Better. I don't know what the like laws are in NOLA or
Well, I
Louisiana, but it's
mean,
probably still not great. But
I
better than
don't
shooting
think
it.
they give out permits for that gun.
Oh yeah. So I'm not saying like that. Like there's still an illegal firearm, but like firing, like discharging
Yeah.
a weapon is definitely a problem. Like more of a problem than not firing.
Well, they're in deep shit, guys. Let's be
yeah.
clear.
They-
They
yeah.
most likely did some sort of armed robbery. That's like a 20-year thing.
And then they were fleeing police, illegal pursuits, high speed stuff, blown stop signs, the traffic
Yeah,
lights, all
they're
kinds of stuff.
fucked.
So Chris, let's say you were them in this moment. Would you go out shooting, or would you do what they did?
What do you mean go out shooting? Who are you? Are you shooting the
No,
cops?
I'm not shooting.
No, I'm
anyone.
asking him.
I'm not shooting anyone. A and B. I'm not in this situation. So let's be clear.
I just
Okay.
want to
This
say
is
when
going
Maxes
out to the
go out
pub.
shooting.
This is
means-
going out in public, Max. I think we're gonna move on.
Sure. But if Chris was all like, they're already fucked. So
That's not. I said that they luckily didn't shoot.
true.
Is what I said. Let's roll back the tape here.
That's true.
The next one was the lightest.
Yeah,
Close
no,
to the
it's-
lightest.
It's very.
So we
light.
get to see the firefighters for
Can
the
we-
first time.
Can we do a quick minutia dip here?
Do it.
You can do whatever
Quick minutia
you want.
dip.
Yeah.
So before they get the response, this is the first scene with the firefighters, right? And so they show the firehouse, which there's a little like fun little Easter egg here, which is the firehouse is called Squirt 27.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Does anyone like this? Has got to be some kind of like NOLA thing, or like that's like a district or a neighborhood kind of slang
No,
thing.
every firefighter station has a number.
No, I know the number, but the name. Like, why is it called Squirt?
And I don't know.
I don't know. I just thought it was very funny. So anyway, Squirt.
Yeah. I don't
27,
know what
that's
if
the
they all have
firehouse.
names. But
Yeah.
like, not all of them probably have funny names like that.
I just liked it. It was.
I
Funny.
can't imagine the fire chief being like, "Yeah, I'm from Squirt."
I run Squirt
I run
27. Yeah, it's
Squirt.
pretty good.
But 27 is just the like fire like.
Yeah, it's the
station.
firehouse number or whatever. Yeah. So anyways.
So they go to this house and they have to break up an illegal bonfire, and they're like, "God damn it, on fucking Mardi Gras, we're out here breaking up an illegal bonfire," and they get out the hose.
It's the smallest bonfire too.
Yeah, it's just like it's like nothing.
I like when they call it in at the end. So they obviously just roll up. They're like, okay, this is a lot. Psh, psh, fires out, and then they call in and like, yeah, the small trash fire has been put out.
Yeah. And it's just like these guys are like, oh, fine, put it out. Like they were just like, really,
get
it's
it.
fucking Mardi Gras. You come out, you tear down our fire.
There was
Like,
definitely I thought Morgan's Only was the huge crowd. I was definitely expecting that to be a massive bonfire.
there was definitely a giant party there for
Right.
sure. Clearly cold enough to have a fire, James.
cold enough to have a fire.
I mean, like, you know, you
Oh, I
keep
don't-
warm by the fire.
I don't know that they were using the fire for warmth. I think they just wanted to have a bonfire and light a bunch of things on fire.
All right.
It's like a couch burning. I don't think you're doing it to keep yourself warm.
Sometimes you are.
I mean, maybe in Penn State.
Yeah, sometimes you are. Got to keep warm. The next one is another doozy. Some guy got his hand impaled on a fence.
That was the call that came in. I know. I was so curious.
And like they teed this up by some guy was just like, some guy's impaled on a fence, and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
That's gotta be the shittiest. And it's like, it's real fucking shitty, but it's like the least shitty that I would expect.
For the
anyone
title?
being impaled on a fence.
Yeah, that's
This
fair.
is the way you'd want to be impaled.
Oh, I disagree.
I just like
Well, how else do you want to be impaled?
my
guys?
leg.
Yeah, maybe like
No
through the
way.
leg or something. I don't know.
No.
Dude, this thing, okay. So this is one of those, to paint a picture, this is one of those like wrought iron fences with the square pointy triangle tips that like looks like a javelin, right? Like it is sharp, pointy, and it's not moving. And this guy's hand, if you look at your hand, the rod is literally through the wrist and under and the palm, like a good 3 to 5 inches of impalement. And he cannot move because like he is bleeding out through the wrist.
Chris, I gotta tell you, you're talking to two guys who have had their hands in casts in the past 3 months. I'd rather lose.
I mean, I've had my foot bandaged up, like casted up a couple times. I think that your hand is going to heal. Like, obviously, you don't want exactly where this guy is, but if it was through just like the palm, like that's
Just
away.
get it through my leg meat. There's so much more meat to go through down there. There's a lot more.
Yeah, the
volume.
problem is the hand is full of bones and like all these very precise things like that is excruciating to rehab as I'm
Yeah.
currently doing. But having like at least go through like the leg or something, at least there's a chance it doesn't go through bones and other shit and it can be like a clean through and through. Like potentially there's like no recovery even or like minimal compared to like through the wrist and
yeah,
hand.
yeah. You don't want to go through the wrist. Going through the wrist is not good.
Yeah.
I agree with you. So the EMT was like talking about this kind of impalement, and she was like, "Yeah, this isn't an uncommon thing. People jumping over fences." I'm like, "Oh, that's nuts." But like, she's saying like sometimes people have to hold them up. So like, I think it's through your leg. You're just stuck having your whole weight on that.
I mean-
That's a whole
Yeah.
different thing than this guy on the ground, and like he's obviously in a whole lot of pain.
Oh yeah.
And so like they have to cut this fence out to get his hand like so
With
they can
the fence
with the
attached.
fence attached
Yeah.
into the ambulance into the hospital.
This is a good 30 pounds of fence.
Yeah. Like I can't imagine just sitting there being impaled for like it's got to be like 30 minutes where your hand's impaled here.
Oh,
And it's
Like,
being
just
impaled
bef-
by something that's fucking vibrating because they're cutting it with a saw.
When they're cutting it, it's like even like worse. Like, this is not fun.
it was
God.
wild when they so they finally cut it around, they cover his face up and stuff and whatever. They cut the fence off, get him in the ambulance and like stabilized as best they can, essentially. And they start asking him questions like, "Hey, like, what are you doing? Who are you? Do you know, like, all the basic stuff?" And then so like, how this happened, and the dude just goes, "I really don't know. Like, I don't know.
I was walking."
Yeah, he's just like, "I don't know. I was walking, and that was it." And like, next thing you know, I was in bed, and he just goes, "I can't believe I'm sitting here with this fence in my hand." Like, he's just like, I can't believe this. What's happening?
All
I
right.
can't believe it either.
Let's be clear here, guys. This is fucking Mardi Gras.
Sure.
People are hammered out of their mind. This guy was probably just really drunk and doesn't have any idea of what happened.
I mean, sure.
Maybe he was trying to hop the fence. Maybe he tripped and just jammed his hand on that thing. I don't know. That seems unlikely.
Now that I've seen that, like, those fences should be outlawed. That is so dangerous.
Just don't try to climb them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's another thing. Don't climb fences. Lesson clearly learned.
Yeah, I mean, climb the regular fences. Don't climb. Like,
No. The EMT was like, you'd be surprised. Like, all these fences, so many of them are like years and years old, decades old.
well,
a lot of times
that's
they
she
get
was
rusted out
referring
and
to
all these
the
things.
like the NOLA fences are like these fences.
Well, sure. Like, those are definitely bad fences, but I think in
But
general,
I think
fences
like
are pretty old.
the chain link fence, you're not going to get impaled on a chain link fence.
If that thing falls, the rod bends the right way. It's going
you're
right
not
through.
just like no.
It's not good. I've seen chain link fences fall with people trying to climb. It's not great.
Yeah, I mean,
They
obviously,
didn't get impaled though, so to be fair.
yeah,
were
obviously
lucky.
you could get hurt, but you're not going to get impaled with a chain link fence.
Yeah, I mean, I think the difference here is like these rod fences aren't really just going to collapse like a chain link fence would.
Yeah,
And like, so if you fall, you're just going in the fence.
yeah,
like the fence is going
definitely
through
don't
you.
climb these fences.
Definitely.
don't do that. This is like climbing like a barbed wire fence. Like, don't do that. And
Pro
the lesson of the day from Who Put This On. The last was a pregnant woman that called in and took the ambulance for some reason.
Well, so the issue here is she's been having contractions for like a day. I know it's hard to like predict when you're actually giving birth, but probably should have gone there earlier. And the ambulance is a very expensive way to get to the hospital.
Oh yeah, they're not gonna be happy with that. bill.
Definitely don't do that. And like, it's definitely like, I'm sure maybe she's took some like classes to figure out like how, like when she needs to go to the hospital. Like when you're 5 minutes like away from, I don't know. I don't know how to talk about this. I know nothing about it. But like, there's a certain time when you go to the hospital, and it's when your contractions are between a certain time.
Right.
So,
I mean, there's
like-
definitely cases, you hear about like when situations get bad or unexpected stuff for sure. So not saying all of it, but even the EMTs in this situation, like, we're basically giving you a ride to the hospital. That's gonna
Well,
cost you a
he
lot.
was like, he made a bunch of jokes about, if I deliver this baby, you got to name it after me.
Oh, yeah.
Which seems very distasteful, to be fair. And like, even if you did deliver the baby, like, it would be different. Like, I don't know if she's delivering that whole baby in that, like, how long is that ride?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They were definitely not trying. And like, when they go to the confessionals and the EMTs are like, they're like, oh yeah, delivering babies sucks. They're like, it's messy. There's stuff all over it. Like, we just want to get them to the hospital as quick as we can, not have to deliver a baby. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Let the hospital deal with that.
Yeah, definitely. And that was the end of the show.
That's it.
Like, well,
Well, then
not
we got the-
we got like, so the end of the show is actually the end of Mardi Gras, which apparently ends with like some sort of cop EMT firefighter parade closing down Bourbon Street.
Which seems kind of cool, actually. Like, everyone is on the Bourbon Street still. They're throwing beads. It's a party.
Yeah.
And they're sort of celebrating like the public service workers here.
Yeah, it doesn't seem closed though.
Oh no, it still seems like the party's going. So that's what I thought. I was like, okay, so wait, they're closing down Bourbon Street, but everyone still has drinks at hand, and there are like the street's packed. They still got to go back to work and get all these people out of here.
I wonder if it's just because the people of Mardi Gras know that this is going to happen that they wait till this happens and then go home.
Right.
Or, you're just out. Like when we were in New Orleans, we were out till like 5, 6 in the morning and like people were still out. I can't imagine that people are like, oh, the EMT guys walked by. It's time to go home.
I mean,
Like,
some will say that New Orleans is a 24-hour drinking city.
some people.
Some
people-
would say, I've been told when I've arrived in NOLA sometimes. NOLA is a fun town. It seems like this is the thing that happens though on Fat Tuesday, but I've never been there during that time specifically.
I think generally it's way more packed than what you see here.
Yeah.
So like, it's not unreasonable to think that it's like kind of over when like these people swing by. Yeah, and that's the show. You guys, any other minutia? We go to ratings.
I do have one minutia. The Lucas Machine version 3 now supports Wi-Fi.
I like the Max
I think
commercial
that's
there.
more your internet corner, Max.
Now you know.
Max, why don't you give me a rating on this one?
I liked this more than Alone. I hate to say. So I'm going to give this top third, bottom of the top.
Ooh.
Damn.
All right, James, what do you got for me?
You guys
I'm a
don't-
little bit shocked right now. Like, to be clear, I'm struggling with this one a bit, mostly from the angle of I don't know how many more episodes I would really want to watch.
Right.
Like
I'm glad
if I'm
I
just
watched
watching
this.
this episode, this was enjoyable. It was a good time. And if I was just rating this, I'd probably put it right in the middle. However, I don't really think that this I was most interested in the NOLA aspect of it. I don't know how interested in the Tampa version I'd really be.
no fucking way.
And in the end, like I've seen it now, and we watched like 45 minutes or whatever, and I just really don't know that I want to watch like a ton more. And so like I'm gonna put it in the bottom of the middle. I think.
Okay.
I was really debating putting it in the bottom, but like the show is done decently. Like it's decently produced. It's put together fine. The one thing I do want to nit on it a little is the chit chat banner kind of stuff. Sometimes it just doesn't kind of sit right with me, but it's a little bit nitty. Outside of that, it was an interesting watch. So bottom of the middle.
Yeah, I've also struggled with this one. I want to put it in the bottom third, but I was definitely entertained. I liked the like EMT aspect. Without it, if it was just cops, it would definitely just be the bottom third. But I think the EMT aspect is really intriguing because it's like people helping people, which is just like that's just like a kind of positive aspect of like our like humanity. So like I'll put it in the middle third. I definitely don't really want to watch anymore. I definitely I liked listening to it a little bit. I didn't like watching it all that much. It was like just like shit I didn't need to see. To be fair,
Would
to be
the
frank,
show be better as a podcast?
no, I don't know. I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I think that's where we lay. You got any updates for us, James? I know last week we couldn't talk about a certain show because you weren't on the show.
Oh, what show was that one?
Instant Hotel.
Yes, I have been watching Instant Hotel. I think watched 6 episodes, basically, which I didn't realize was going to happen when we started it. But I watched for the episode that we actually did for the pod, Those People's Complete. And so I saw like the winner of that group of 5.
I think that's just 5 episodes.
Yeah, I think you might be
Yeah,
right.
It's 5. So you see 5
I've seen 5
Airbnbs.
places, and then they reveal the winner.
Yeah, so you've seen.
Or then they framed it as not the winner, but the finalist. So I think that team will go to the finals. But then on episode 6, it's all new people.
Yeah, so I may have seen the whole first season here. So like I could give you some heads up on how this works.
I would be curious of the format, but I definitely will keep watching it. So I would.
Yeah, I'm not going to
correct me
spoil
spoilers.
what actually happens.
Cool.
I actually don't even want to spoil what happens in the first half of the season for people.
Sure.
Because I think we should take a little step back from it. But anyway, so there's the first 5 like Airbnbs you see. Then you see a whole nother set of 5.
5, okay.
So there's the winner of the first heat, then there's the winner of the second heat.
Okay.
They're given a certain amount of money, and then the winners go again.
Wait. Certain amount of money to do what? Or just prize
So
money?
they like renovate their like
Oh.
Airbnbs, and they go again.
So they get
like,
some money to like tweak and like modify their
Yeah.
their current existing.
So they take
Airbnbs.
all the like feedback they've given and they like go again. So there's 2 more episodes. So there's 12
Okay.
episodes in total.
Guys,
Sort of a,
And then there's like an overall winner.
okay.
it's like that terrible LeBron show where you get some money.
Yep.
So it's in that spirit. It's not exactly that.
The terrible LeBron show no one ever watched.
No one ever watched Cleveland Hustles.
Also, I found out that like we can't go like if you go to our podcast feed, you can't go all the way back anymore.
What?
I think we have too many episodes or
We have-
something. I
we
don't
have
know.
so
We
many?
have to figure that out because
We got to start like a GoFundMe.
we can't like say, hey, go watch, listen to Married at First Sight because you can't
We should-
physically go and get it.
We should probably get off Podomatic.
Yeah, we need to. We might have some feed issues lately soon.
Oh, we need to
soonish.
get Brian to do it before he's employed again.
Maybe we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So yeah. So the first 5 are very. You tee this up for you a little bit. Are very cordial. They're very fair when they're rating people.
Arguably.
You just wait, James. You
Oh,
just
does it get
wait.
worse?
You just wait till the second group of 5.
Okay.
Oh, are
That's
they just
all I'll say
fucking
about
each
this-
other over?
That's all I'll say about the second group of 5.
Okay.
Because
Very
they're not.
interesting.
They're not. They're like more what you'd expect from like this kind of like. Oh, so I rate others and then I get rated and then wait, what? How? Like they're definitely more about like this whole game aspect than the first group, which
Yeah.
What did you think of some of the Airbnbs? What'd you think of the Coke? Like
There was
the
definitely some
50s
fun
style
I liked
Coke.
the variety overall. And so there was a bit of a retro, there was a bit sort of more modern, and then there was a bit like just over the top glamour. Then there was sort of this interesting like tropical sort of theme one. And all were sort of interesting in their own ways. And like one had like the big pool or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. They were all interesting. I thought that, all livable and things. I found it weird in some cases where the cost was definitely ranging. Like I think in the first group of 5, there was one that was as low as like 500 and change, and there was one as high as like 1,200 a night.
It was like
Whoa.
1,500 or something.
Or like it was up there, and so like that was a big swing. And I was surprised that when they got to the cheaper one, they didn't really like give the whole value for money more.
Yeah,
I was surprised
The
by
rating
that.
system is, as we mentioned, was
The ra-
really
yeah.
is really bad.
The
It's
reason
like
was no good.
I could see why they did one score for all 4 categories because like the value for money like kind of equates into like the house and all that other stuff. So like it's hard to like say okay the house without the like how much it costs.
Yeah.
But like Babe and Bondi's place, which is in Bondi Beach, which is like the cheapest one and in the best location, like their house could have been shit. Like it's
Yeah.
really cheap, sleeps 8, is next to the beach. Like, how do you beat that?
Yeah.
Like you're just hanging out at the beach. Like you don't.
Yeah, I mean,
you're not
location is
hanging
good.
out in that. You're not hanging
Yeah.
out the house.
Yeah, the scoring system is totally flawed. I mean, you're definitely right. They totally need to do the Naked and Afraid style where you score each category out of. It also doesn't need to be out of 10. Just make it like 1 out of 5, like a normal Airbnb rating or something, like whatever. But the way they do it is it's just like, okay, give a score 1 to 10, and it's all just situational, like feely and unexplainable.
Yeah. So
But aside from that's like the worst part of the show.
I definitely
Everything else is so much
was
more.
watching the show, and my nickname for the show is Shade the Show.
Ooh.
Oh,
There's just so much shade being thrown. It is nuts. Like, and it's not like literal shade where like, oh, I can't believe they're wearing that. It's just like, oh, this house is so gaudy, or it's so bad, or like you like teed it up so good, but it's so bad because of this and this and this, and it's just like they're not trying to be all that shady, but they are being super shady, and it's great.
You've convinced me to watch more.
Yeah, you should definitely watch more, especially if you like shade. There's a lot of shade.
Yeah, it seems like it starts to just become more about looking for the flaws in the
Oh,
house.
it's
than
so
enjoying it.
negative. The show gets it's all about it's all about what they hate about the show. The place, but they're like 7 out of 10. Like you didn't say anything net positive at all during this
Oh.
whole episode.
Also, the other thing is the written feedback.
Oh,
is
yeah.
amazing. That part of the show is wonderful because they just read the verbatims to the host live and recording it, or I guess not live, but you
But
know,
yeah.
like in that moment, that real reaction, and it's great. Like there's some serious shade that starts to come out
Like-
in those, which is fun.
I mean,
So,
the,
yeah, I've
the
been enjoying it.
Leroy episode.
Yeah, the Leroy episode is great.
Like-
Leroy and basically Babe are just head to head going at it. There's a feud.
The Leroy, when they go to Leroy's Airbnb and it's just like in this middle of the suburb, in the middle of kind of nowhere, and you're like, how do you expect to win with that?
I
'Cause,
love
like-
Bondi. It's just, it looks like my old grandmother decorated the house. She just keeps saying that over and over again.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's so shady. Like everything is very shady. And just you just wait till the next group, James. It's very good. Yeah. So I watched a bit of another season of Married at First Sight.
Oh, man.
Is it like a current running season?
No. I'm watching whatever the season 4, I think, because
Okay.
it was on Hulu, and it's like the show it just drags. It's so like ugh. Anyway, this season was kind of interesting because like it's set in Miami,
Oh.
and like one couple. I'm gonna spoil a little bit of it for you if you care, but it's like a 10. It's like they're on season 7, so if you care, I don't care. Somebody like only made it past the honeymoon.
Wait. Can we go back to Chris's quote there? If you care,
You don't.
I don't care.
Well, like if you care, but it's been like 4 years since the season aired, so like
No, it's cool. Like,
like
you don't care.
I
about
don't
the-
care. If you cared, you should have already seen it. So like
Yeah. So if
that's
you are the
essentially what
one
I mean.
married on the beach.
Yeah.
Oh no, sorry. I'm getting blurring
Married
shows.
at first
Married
sight.
at first sight on
Married
the
at
beach
first-
with your ex.
Married at First Sight.
naked.
Naked.
We really got Chris on that one.
Yeah. One
Beach
couple doesn't even make it like 3 days into their marriage. Like they go on the honeymoon like they do after the marriage. And like on day 2, they get into this giant fight. And the woman's just like, nope. And like tries to be cordial for the rest of the honeymoon. And then she gets home. She's like, they like end it. Like they have to get the like judges back and be like, okay, you can end it if you want. Cause like they've clearly ended it. And she's like, yeah, I'm out. And
What was the fight about?
it was just like, it was dumb stuff. It was like the
It
one,
always is.
yeah. I mean, essentially, like they get married, and like he smoked, and she like it was like a deal breaker for her essentially, and so there was like they wanted like a surfing lesson, and she held the surfing person's hand, and he got upset because you won't even hold my hand, and it was just like, we're married, and she's like, well, you smoke, and like, well, you drink too much, and then it was just like kind of over.
What? That's
And this
a
was on the
wild
day
argument.
3.
What is
this
doc-
is day 3, and they're on their honeymoon. Like, drink too much. Like, obviously you're drinking.
What is Dr. Pepper doing? These
That's
two
what
are
I
so
was-
clearly incompatible.
Well, I think that she like they showed a clip of her like interview being like, yeah, I guess like smoking doesn't bother me like
Uh-oh.
that much. So like clearly she just didn't either know that it bothered her that much, or like the way he argued about it, or like I blame mostly her because he was willing to like quit and try to make this work, and she was just like, nope, you act like a child. And I'm like, okay.
So just unwilling to budge. Kind of.
Yeah, she was just out of it.
Interesting.
But I haven't made
is
it
that
through the whole season.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask. Yeah.
That was just like, but like they keep bringing this couple back, and I'm just like, they're off the show, people. They're not married. Stop trying to pull them in.
You're like, you
but
don't care
they
now.
only have 6 people on the show, so like, they kind of have to. But it's just like the dude's just so upset. He's like, I really wanted to do this, and she just like gave up, and I'm like, yeah,
I'm
that
sure they'll
sucks.
have him on a second chances season.
Maybe. I think there might be a second chance this season now that you say that.
So there's one other show
One
Oh,
other
yeah.
show.
that some of us from the pod have started watching. I feel
What's
like Max
that?
really should tee it up here.
Are you the one to do it?
There you go. So the new season of Are You the One?
Is so fucking nuts.
It's anything goes basically is this season.
Chris, do
Everyone
you-
can get with anyone.
We've brought up the theme before.
Okay.
It's wild.
so good.
So if you're not aware of the theme, it's bisexual theme.
No, it's basically like fluid. What's the?
It doesn't have to be.
Yeah,
but
yeah. It's basically anything
Oh.
goes. Anybody can get with anybody is the whole thing. So there's a
Well,
mix
that's
of guys,
just
a mix
like
of girls.
saying
there's
that
a mix
doesn't-
there's people that are in transition, and anybody like it's everybody's digging everybody.
everybody wants to bone.
So is there just a giant orgy in this house?
Not yet.
Pretty close though. I mean, the first episode was a two-parter split over a couple like part 1, part 2 style episodes, which probably I don't know, hour and a half, 2 hours, something like that. And there's a lot of action.
I was so entertained the entire time.
It is there. The entertainment is up there. There's a lot of action in the show. There's a lot of drama already that's starting to come out. There's a party room or sex room, whatever you want to call it. I don't.
There's always
There's
a
a
sex
bunch
room.
of action that's already happening there. Some people have had multiple trips in the same night in there with different people. So
That's pretty nuts.
it's pretty wild.
I just don't understand the format.
The like trying to figure out the matching thing.
I don't like the one season I watched a couple episodes of. Like you didn't get enough info to know if you were with good people or not. Like when you weren't given
No,
an opportunity to find people, like if you're the right people enough, like
I don't know. I
It's
feel
about the
opposite.
journey, not the destination.
yeah, but I just don't like that format.
I already feel like watching 2 episodes, you're starting to already guess it, like who's gonna get with who. Like that seems
Yeah,
the
that's
fun of watching the
fine.
show.
You can guess who's going to get with who, but who's the perfect couple?
Sure.
Right. I mean, that's what I'm saying. That's who
Well,
you're trying to guess.
also-
Like, oh, I think it's them two are a match.
Also, there's fewer people on the show because there's more potential matches.
But you don't get any feedback on if you're right and not till like the end, James. This is
No,
really-
you
No,
get
you
the
do.
feedback in the like end of the episode.
yeah,
There's
you
no
get
know
a
who-
feedback and it's like they're not the perfect couple. Okay, well now there's like 50,000 other choices.
There are algorithms for how to figure it out.
There are, yeah, I'm sure.
There's
Love
also an accountant on this season who
Oh, yeah.
is figuring out the algorithms. He has discussed the algorithms.
Yeah, well, like it's what? How many people? 16. Like
16
that's
people.
a lot of options. If you can 16.
Well, we already know at least one that's not an option.
Oh yeah.
There you
Yeah, so 16 factorial minus 1, guys. Let's
go. There you go. We'll see if they do it.
it's just
But anyways,
let's
it's
bring
been
it up.
entertaining. A bunch from the pod are also watching inside.
All right. Well, I think that's it for us this week. You can find us on Twitter at whoputthesong. You can email us questions and suggestions at whoputthesong@gmail.com. You can find us on facebook.com/whoputthesong. And we'll see you guys next time.